There's this glazed over look in people's eyes sitting on bus stops and walking down the road or sitting on a park bench or in an Uber or a taxi. And my suggestion today is do whatever you can and keep it simple. Do whatever you can to move the energy.
You've gotten great at divine working, but what about divine living? Welcome to the Divine Living Podcast. I'm your host, Gina DeVee. You're not alone in wanting more, and here at the Divine Living Podcast, you can expect to be part of conversations from women like us who unapologetically dream big and are obsessed with manifesting our most fabulous lives. The conversation starts now.
What's up, my beautiful queen? Hello from New York City. That is right. Glenn and I were here last weekend, and then I legit did not want to leave. I didn't want to leave so badly that I packed 2 bags. One was the bag that I knew I was only going to use with my time with Glenn, and I was like, just in case an opportunity comes up for me to stay, I'll pack a second bag. Well, it didn't come up, and so I was like, well, there we go. So I go back to Miami, and literally that afternoon, when I returned, I jumped on a phone call with a friend, and she's like, yeah, I'm leaving. And I was like, wait a minute, you live in New York City. How long are you going to be gone for? She's like, I don't know, 2 or 4 weeks. And I was like, can I come stay at your place? Because I don't know if you all know, like the short-term furnished rental thing is like not a thing here in New York. And I looked and nothing showed up. And this showed me a couple of things. She's like, she's like one of my best friends, and she's like, I can't believe I didn't think of this. I had asked her when I knew she was going to be doing a certain amount of travel. I was like, hey, are you going to is anyone going to be in your place or whatever? Because I'm really not finding anything on a short-term furnished rental place. And she didn't respond. And, I think it's like that thing with us with women. We're like, oh, maybe she didn't want to, just leave that alone, And I just kept searching all the sites, totally convinced that I would find something. So anyways, I'm back home the afternoon that I land. We're talking, and she's like extending her trip, and I was like, I'm just going to bring it up to her again. And she's like, oh my gosh, totally. I can't believe that I didn't think of this for you. And so this really, really taught me spiritually a couple of lessons. One is there's a level of boldness that we need to have to receive the gifts that God has in store for us. And I think the word bold can be, well, I'm not going to speak on behalf of you, but I'll share it with myself. It's never been a word that I've really loved. It sounds kind of masculine. I think I associate it with being brash, says the woman who wrote the book, The Audacity to Be Queen. Audacity I can do, bold not so much. Anyways, bold just, I don't know. I think I associate it with boundary busting and the Bible and all kinds of spiritual scriptures talk about, being bold. And I could just feel, I don't know if you think that was it felt bold for me to bring it up twice. Cause I was like, well, if it would have been okay with her, she would have just responded the first time. And I actually haven't even to this day mentioned it. It was like, did she not see that text? Because we text a lot, there's all kinds of things that could have been going on. And so the truth is I probably could have just stayed in my hotel a few days longer until she left, and that second suitcase was there. However, as we prepare ourselves for our desires, which that's what I was doing. I was preparing myself. I put that energy out there into the world. I had the visualization, the intention to be in New York City longer this summer. And I did that through the symbolic act of packing my bag, packing that second bag. And so I was in Miami for 3 days. The bag stayed packed. I rearranged a few things and came back 3 days later. And I just, I know how hard you're working on your dreams. And I know right now how, I don't know if lost is the word, but all of my girlfriends that I'm talking to, women I've had brunch with, phone calls with, people are like the energy is just barely starting to move out there in the world. It seems like seems like everyone's dreams or desires are moving at the pace of molasses. And, I think I've mentioned some of my friends are going through divorces and the legal proceedings are just taking forever. And other people are looking for housing and that's just not coming through. And other people, it's with career or getting clients, getting a brand off the ground. Like, it's just like there can be this kind of slog feeling out there in the world. And I don't care at this point what's out there in the world. What I care about is that women like me and you stop paying so much attention to what the external environment is showing us and pay way more attention to our internal environment, which is where the kingdom of heaven lives, which is where God lives, which is where spirit lives, which is where the universe lives. Like, we have the power to be, do, and have all things. And if we are looking at outside indicators as the indicator of the whatever showing up or not, the health condition changing, the soulmate showing up, the money appearing, the clients coming in, whatever it is, we're going to be depressed. We're going to be like misguided. We're going to fall short of our dreams because that is not source. The external is always and only a mirroring of what's going on for us on the inside, number one. And with that, I want to place a caveat because I think I've gotten myself tripped up on some spiritual technique, so to speak. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing it and I'm believing it and I'm feeling it and I'm calling it in and I'm claiming it as mine and I'm doing it over and over again. And why isn't it here yet? We are called to be queens and not divas. And our job is to show up. Our job is to show up for ourselves, for our work, for our calling, for our families, for our communities. God gets to pick the timing. And if we start getting into a control power struggle with God and the universe about timing, we're going to be exhausted. We're going to be even more exhausted than we might already be. And so we get to live consciously. We get to live with great intention. And we get to move forward in our lives what we can, what is presented before us. And we just must keep the faith that our best desires inside our hearts, they're meant for us and they will come to fruition. I think that we just don't always get to pick the how. But if we're always moving in that direction, if we're always seeing it, if we're always believing it, if we're always preparing for it. So something else I've done, like, the stuff that I'm going to talk about, it sounds crazy in the world, right? Because the world so idolizes, get your ducks in a row and have your backup plan and know what you're doing, like all the logical linear masculine stuff. None of it's working for me right now. So I'm just hanging out in the vortex of the feminine. And here's a little bit of what that looks like for me right now. So I know I desire to move to New York City. I don't know if I've mentioned here or elsewhere that I had this gorgeous place, or so I thought, gorgeous enough place, that I was absolutely happily willing to settle for. And anyways, it fell through. I was devastated. I was like, that was the spot, the whole, the stuff that we women do when we fall in love with anything, particularly a home. Can't imagine something better, all the things. So I have, been on my house hunt search, and rather than waiting for the house to appear, I know that I desire to move to New York City. Glenn and I have talked about it, like we're in alignment. So Glenn, as we speak, is in LA, getting our stuff out of storage that we left there before COVID, going to get Lily, our golden lab. For those of you who found me during COVID, you may not know, I have a yellow lab named Lily, and is driving across country to hopefully put it into a home that I have found here. And if not, we're putting it in storage close by so that when we do, it will happen. Today I woke up and I was like, I got to join a gym. Like, I'm like, it's like post-COVID now. I want a place to go and the whole thing. And I just went and picked a gym in the neighborhood that I'd like to live in. And I signed up and registered. Like, and they're like, so where do you live? I'm like, can you use my billing address right now? Like, it's like I'm just moving it forward. I'm not getting into doubt or fear or distraction or saying that it can't happen or that it won't happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't even know where exactly it's going to be, but I know that it is happening. And that's what you must know for yourself as well. Whatever it is that you're dreaming about, that you desire, that you feel like you've been working on a long time, to get out of the it's been so long stuff. That's only going to delay your manifestation abilities. What I'm learning with, very humbly learning with manifesting is, surprise, surprise, it's not just about me. It's not just about you. There is a divine timing that involves other people also. Other situations, other circumstances. So I'm living the as if. And that's not a fake it till you make it. I don't like the word fake. That has the wrong energy to me. But living as if the perfect townhouse has already appeared. Living as if I'm already unpacked and settled into my home. Like living as if. And if I wait to have joy in my heart for that manifestation to take place, then I will always be at the effect of the external circumstances. That I have not come this far in my life, and neither have you, to be hooked by the external, because you will always then be hooked. If you create from the internal, create joy, create happiness, create wealth, create abundance, create your purpose and your calling. God's well aware of those desires. The universe is what placed them there in the first place. So you just do you. And you wake up and you do you. And if you're not seeing the results that you're looking for, it doesn't mean that you stop. And it doesn't mean that it's not coming. And it doesn't mean that throwing a pity party for yourself is going to get it to you or for you any faster. So if anyone's in a slump today, it's interesting, like this is like Gina moves to New York is like Pollyanna just came to town. I'm like, isn't everything amazing? And the sky is blue and look at this little cute cafe. And, like there's sushi here and there's a corned beef sandwich there and there's a Brooklyn Bridge that like, I'm just out of my mind. And I'm like walking around. Not everyone is as happy as I am right now. Not in New York City anyway. Like, there's this glazed over look in people's eyes sitting on bus stops and walking down the road or sitting on a park bench or in an Uber or a taxi. And my suggestion today is do whatever you can and keep it simple. Do whatever you can to move the energy. I didn't have the keys to my new home today, but I got a membership card to a gym. And maybe for you, moving the energy is taking a shower, actually putting on makeup and an outfit that you feel great in, and going for a walk. Or taking yourself to a beautiful lunch or dinner. Just doing maybe like not working at your desk in your house and maybe taking your laptop to a beautiful cafe. Like just doing something that moves the energy. And if you're also just too much like you don't even have that in you, I get it. We let our love tanks get too into the empty zone. It's like we don't let it get too into the empty zone in our cars because we know that the car's not going to function. And yet we let joy, passion, fun, abundance, money, success, we let it get too into the empty zone. And then we expect ourselves to still function. We don't expect the car to function, but we expect ourselves to still function. And something that's going to fill you up then, if you don't have it within you to go like get the bronzer out, get a massage. let yourself be given to, but there's going to be some kind of movement and motion that happens, even if it's someone else's body working on yours. But your circulation is going to increase and the blood flow is going to move and you're going to be nurtured and given to. And I think that when we take really great care of our bodies, then and move that energy, then we start to get a little more excited about life, or get a little bit more into possibility thinking, or have our faith renewed a little bit more, stirred up just a bit. And then you take the next step. And the next step, if I'm in any kind of funk, usually for me, is being of service. I can't do any of my work and not feel better. I can sit on a couch and be disgruntled all day long. But I can't record a podcast. I can't show up for a live call in the Q Club. I can't teach a class in Own Your Throne. I can't do a coaching call and not feel filled up. And so for those of you that have your own brands or your own missions in that, go do one thing that's of service. If it's an Instagram post, if it's a Facebook Live, whatever your thing is, and you'll start to move the energy. And for those of you in corporate jobs or no jobs or whatever it is, find something that has you feel great. Do something that has you feel great. And I know that we're not taught that. We're taught just be responsible. You can wait till Friday, celebrate later. You know, it wasn't that big of a win. Whatever it is, like you woke up today. That's the win. That's the win. God is working behind the scenes on your behalf today. That is the win. And I want you to just hold in your heart one of your desires that just feels stuck or lost or invisible, and there's no movement and no motion. And I want you to hold it in your hands. And I want you to say this prayer with me. Dear God, thank you. Thank you that this is already done. Thank you that this desire of mine is available to me. Thank you that on the spiritual level, you already know where it is and how it's happening, and you've orchestrated the whole thing. So me holding this here in my hands is a symbolic gesture of me not giving up. Even though there's not much indication that's going to show up anytime soon. I know that as I surrender it to you in a holy instant, the miracle of manifestation can and will occur. So I release it from my control, from my knowing how to make it happen, from my forced manifestation. And I surrender it to you, believing that it will return to me, believing that you will bring forth this manifestation in ways that I couldn't even fathom. And today I release any sadness or fear or anger or resentment or doubt. And I return to the feelings that flow from truth. I return to gratitude. I return to joy. I return to love. I return to excitement. I return to faith. I return to bliss. And I return to trusting you and your timing. I'm not giving up on this one. I am giving it over. And we pray this believing. Amen. All right, my darlings. Well, I am off to go prepare some of the next weeks of teaching in my Own Your Throne class. But if this is a message that has you feeling like, oh, I needed this, like I got this, I want you to come join me at my Women's Luxury Retreat. It's the Own Your Throne Retreat, August 5th through 7th. Click on the link in the show notes. Getting out of your environment, getting into the room, getting mentored and coached by someone who's outside of your circumstances, and meeting the other incredible women who've already gifted this to themselves and signed up. You are going to see breakthrough. You're going to experience transformation. You are going to have fun, and you are going to feel yourself alive again. You know, with everything that you give and you do and all the people you pour into. It's necessary that you get yourself poured into also. Otherwise, you're going to be expecting that tank that's on empty to do an amazing job, and it just can't, and it won't. So let yourself be given to. This is just an exquisite time to come together, 3 full days of me focusing on you, of creating the facilitation for the transformation in everyone's lives. There isn't a woman in the world that doesn't have something big going on right now, and that includes you. So let yourself be given to, let yourself receive. Click on the link in the show notes and you'll get all the details. Get yourself registered, and I will see you August 5th, 6th, and 7th. Mwah.